What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to basketball, and more importantly, welcome back to our season preview series. This is the series where I'm breaking down all 30 NBA teams before the start of the regular season, and now it's kind of the dead point in the basketball year. Not too many people are looking into basketball or anything like that, but basketball sweats like me, and probably you if you're watching this video. You're trying to get ready for the season. You want to see what's going on around the NBA and just get yourself ready. So we're going to help you do that today. And in this video, we're going over the Washington Wizards, who have been having a very active past couple of months. In this video, we're going to go over what last season looked like, some goals for this year, what their off season looked like. We're going to do a complete roster breakdown where we go over salary cap, draft assets, everything else going on with the team, possible rotation and lineup ideas, trade ideas, and we'll finish off the standings prediction at the very end. But before we get into that, make sure that you guys like, subscribe, and comment. I've responded to every single comment on my YouTube channel up to this point, and I intend to keep on doing so. There's a bunch of other season preview videos for you guys to watch, and there's probably even more than what's on the screen right now because I tend to pre-record these. I'm recording this on a Saturday, actually, right now, so please go give them a watch. I know they're not getting like the most views in the world, but I want to give something out to the basketball sweat, so hopefully you guys are enjoying it. But anyway, Java update, go the fuck away. Let's go talk about the Wizards. And that brings us back to the season preview spreadsheet. For those of you unfamiliar, I like to kind of build these spreadsheets as a way to kind of help articulate and visualize the things that I'm talking about in my YouTube videos. I build these things for basically everything at this point. But you can get access to this spreadsheet if you want. It's really, really simple. All you have to do is go into the description of this video, go join our Discord. There's a link there. It's completely free. Go hop on to the announcements channel and you'll see a link to download this thing. Have fun with it. Build whatever you want with it. Learn about Google Sheets or Excel, whatever you want to do, and just know that I'm updating these sheets in the background like every single day because there's always more to be done with it. But anyway, let's talk about the Washington Wizards. We always like to start off on this intro tab here where we kind of talk about what did the season look like last year and where are we going forward with this team. Last year the Wizards did a lot of the same, right? A lot of the same stuff, meaning they were really, really bad at basketball. Everything was just a mess on the basketball court. They had 3 first-round picks last year, and that was kind of the big excitement for the team, given it came in a not very interesting draft class. If I'm being honest with you, I've professionally covered and scouted for NBA teams a couple drafts now, and that one wasn't very good. So you ended up with an Alex Sarr, Bub Carrington, and a Keyshawn George. Again, maybe not like the most interesting prospects in the world, but showed some stuff out there, and that's kind of all you had to look for as of this last year. Season just was kind of all over the place. It was a mess. It was kind of directionless or whatever, but you know, new regime in Washington and everything's coming into play, which we're hoping is going to change things up because the Wizards have been bad for basically forever. Hasn't been very good. They made a trade in the middle of last season for a Mr. Chris Middleton. They got off of Kyle Kuzma and got Chris Middleton, if you can believe that. I'm sure the Bucks wish they could take that one back now. We understood it at the time as a swing for the fences, but it just didn't work out well for them ultimately. And once Chris Middleton joined the team, there was a little bit of stability. What we often talk about, when you put veteran players on these teams, it starts to help out the young guys a little bit more. So Wizards got a little bit better, given it was also the end of the basketball season, which we know doesn't tend to be the most real thing in the NBA. Oh my God, so many things want to update on my computer. Go away. And I don't want to see any of those damn comments telling me to update it. I don't want to see it. But anyway, it got a little bit better towards the end of the season, and now we're in this interesting place where we got a couple more young guys joining the team now, had a couple more first-round picks, and we brought in a couple more vets, and the Wizards have just been active, right? So we got a lot to talk about. Last season, 18-64, bad. Not good at basketball, but that's typical for Washington Wizards people. And by the way, I hope it's clear. Like, I'm gonna make fun of the Wizards organization a bit in this video. Y'all been dog shit. Y'all been dog shit for a while. I'm just keeping it real with you. I'm a Bulls fan. Like, it's not always good, but I'm gonna kind of clown on you guys because it's factual, right? Y'all haven't been very good. Most players and coaches and people in the basketball space will tell you you don't want to go to the Wizards if you don't have to. We're hoping things are taking a corner, but we're being objective about things, so don't get butthurt because your team sucks. That's your choice to root for them. Franchise status. This team is rebuilding currently. We have a bunch of different categories you can fall into in this series, and I'm kind of going to explain all of them right now. You've got selling teams. Selling teams are teams actively trying to blow things up and reset their team. You've got rebuilding teams, which is where the Wizards are right now, meaning you're trying to find those franchise like cornerstones. You're trying to find the base for your team so that you can start to kind of build around those people. Then you have the growing teams, meaning you found those couple key pieces. Now you're trying to grow up with them and try to become contenders eventually. Then you have the contenders. That's obviously the place that everybody wants to be, meaning you're competing for a championship. And then we have the who the fuck knows category. That is the one category you for sure do not ever want to be in. It means that you are directionless. That is the worst. You'd much rather be clearly in one of these. Wizards are clearly a rebuilding team right now, which, yeah, that's a good place to be. Let's talk about some goals for the team this year. First one, really plain, really simple. Get the young fellas on the basketball court, right? We got a ton of interesting young basketball players on this team, just to name a couple. Koulibaly, Sarr, Keyshawn George, Bub Carrington, AJ Johnson, Trey Johnson, Will Riley. I'm probably forgetting somebody off the top. Cam Whitmore. I know you guys want to see some Cam Whitmore this year. I don't know if it's exactly the best thing, but there's a ton of them out there. You obviously want to balance it, and you don't want to just throw out all the young guys at once. That won't go well for you. You need to balance it out with veteran players, but let's get them on the court, right? We're rebuilding as of right now. Want to try to get them out there so that they can develop and see who's going to stick around, right? Because all of those guys aren't going to make it, right? It's just kind of how it's going to be. Not all of them will make it, so we got to figure out which ones are worth keeping around. Second one, another pretty simple one that we talk about with every single rebuilding team. Follow the AVC rebuilding guide. What does that kind of mean? Because I don't have like a video or anything that actually describes what this is. Basically, it's just following the principles we talk about in a lot of these videos. Obviously, taking on bad contracts, take on some draft picks, right? You want to get the assets. When you draft young players, put them in opportunities to succeed right away. Allow them to do what made them top-level prospects at the beginning, and then build their skill sets out from there. Make sure you have quality vets on the team that can help grow your young players. That's important. And eventually, you need to start winning basketball games. We talked about that with the Detroit Pistons for a while. Like, how was Cade Cunningham supposed to show how good he was when he was playing on those booty teams, right? Eventually, you have to win some games to win some games. That's something that we often say on this channel, and you might be like, what does that exactly mean? Once you win a couple games and you give your team some confidence, that's going to allow them to take that next step and consistently keep winning those games. So just some thoughts as you kind of build this team. We're not probably at that point yet with Washington, but something to keep in mind. And then finally, don't do any wizard shit, man. Like, I'm saying this for a reason, right? Because we used to always talk about it, and we're still going to talk about it for the time being until proven otherwise. The Washington Wizards and the Charlotte Hornets, those are kind of the two poverty franchises in the NBA that most people knew to kind of stay away from if you could prevent it. Again, if that hurts your feelings, you're a little bitch and you need to calm the fuck down, okay? But, oh, there goes all the better advertisements on this video. But that's just kind of how it was. Those two teams seem to be making a little change of direction right now, which we'll kind of talk about during our off-season review of this team. They seem to be making smarter moves following this rebuilding guide, if you would, but please just don't do any Wizards bullshit. Like, let's just take our time. Let's build this team the correct way. Let's show that kind of some of the new people in charge, despite ownership still being the same and everything, right? Let's hope that these new people in charge can kind of start to help this franchise turn a little bit of a corner, because they could use some help. And then I've got one final goal for the fans. Be critical. What do I mean by this? When you root for a bad team for so long, and mind you, I know how you feel. Trust me. I'm a Chicago sports fan. There's not a lot of good things to cheer about right now. You look for any little glimmer of hope, and sometimes you latch onto that and you go, everything's going to be better now. Don't do that. That's how you end up in an abusive relationship, right? You need to look for consistency, right? So it does look like things are hopefully starting to become a little bit better in Washington, because this last offseason and towards the end, or towards like the back half of last year, things are starting to go well. That's not a good enough sample size to make up for the last like 20 years of nonsense that you fans have been through, right? So be critical. Make sure that you're watching. Make sure that you stay objective with things. We hope that you're going in a better direction, but please be critical of everything. Ask yourself, does that really make sense? Don't let yourself get hurt again. But with all that being said, let's go talk about what the offseason looked like for them, because they were busy. Alrighty, the off-season tab. If you've been on my channel for any amount of time, you're probably pretty used to this tab. I'm going to zoom into about here. Basically, we talk about the off-season in 3 different sections. We've got drafted players, which are players that were obviously picked in this last year's draft that will be on the full-time roster this year. So if you're like a two-way player, you're going overseas, you won't be included in this. Player departures. Guys that at the end of last season were on the full-time roster that will no longer be on it this year. And then players brought in some new faces that you either traded for or signed in free agency that are going to be a part of your full-time roster this season. Again, we kind of did this last year in the season preview series, so hopefully you're a little bit used to the format. But let's start off with the drafted players. I thought the Wizards had a good first round again this year. The benefit of this year's draft is it was much deeper in a lot of people's opinions, mine included. I'm like, wow, there's like very quality talent that I'd be interested in developing like into the early second round, which is really, really cool. And don't get me wrong, there's players that were evaluated as like first round talents that I'm not as excited about, and so the Wizards could have done worse is kind of what I'm saying, but I think they did pretty good overall. They had a really easy choice with like the 5th overall pick. Trey Johnson has kind of been like the 5th guy the whole season, and there's good reason for that. Dude's probably the best pure bucket getter coming out of this class. He's kind of a taller Cam Thomas, if you would, in the sense where he can be falling any direction, go anywhere on the basketball court, and he can hit a jumper with it. He's extremely good at it. Putting up like 20 points per game as a freshman in college is extremely difficult to do. He is a pure bucket getter. Now, there's some downsides to Trey Johnson, which, by the way, if you guys want like full breakdowns on both of these guys, I did cover the, that's not where I want to go. I did cover like the draft in depth. Again, I covered this draft professionally, so if you want to go watch some videos on both Will Riley and Trey Johnson, I've got videos for you in this playlist here so that you can get kind of familiar with these guys. But he doesn't do a ton else right now besides score, so that's why we kind of give him the Cam Thomas comparison. Oh my god, speed up my browser. Go away. Why are there so many little things that my computer wants to do? Shut the fuck up. Not a great passer, not a great ball handler. He's not a tremendous athlete by any means. Defensively, meh. But the kind of difference with him, though, is that he does have some, like, decent size on him, and so you think, okay, you could potentially, like, teach him a little bit more as compared to, like, when you kind of see these types of players in, like, the smaller guard form, like you do with Cam Thomas. You're usually a little bit more hesitant that they can develop into anything more than that. So we're a little bit more hopeful that Trey Johnson can develop some outside skills outside of just hitting jump shots, right? Because there's a lot more to offense than just putting the ball in the hoop, which, again, I think he's extremely good at, and you'll see him hit some buckets at the NBA level, no question, but is it going to be efficient? Is it going to help you actually win games? That's what we'll see. Then Will Riley, a really interesting prospect, another freshman coming in at the forward or kind of wing position, 6'8", can handle the rock a little bit, can pass a little bit, can shoot a little bit, decent athlete. He's just one of those guys that you look at and you go, okay, there's potential here, right? Whenever you kind of see that wing or forward that can do a little bit of everything right now, everybody gets excited because those become the most valuable players in the NBA if you can develop them correctly. So you got him in kind of like the later third of the first round. That's a nice guy to try to develop, man. Whenever you can get those kinds of players, I think you should. So good draft overall. I don't think you messed anything up. I think these are two fun players to kind of watch going forward. Obviously got a lot of work to do with them, but good draft, Washington. Good draft. We clap it up for you. All right, who'd you lose? You lost Jordan Poole. Jordan Poole was your best player last year. And honestly, like, if you weren't watching Wizards basketball, which I don't blame you for, and if you're like, AVC, how much Wizards basketball did you watch, you dumb fuck? Whoa, Billy, calm the fuck down real quick. I watched, unfortunately, the Wizards were the team I watched the most last season for my company that I run when I bill out certain like film watching times and stuff like that. You know, I have to kind of have like a report as to like what I'm watching. The Wizards are who I watched the most last year, and there's a variety of reasons for that I'm not going to talk about or disclose, but the Wizards were my number one watch team last year. And again, not proud of it. It wasn't very fun to watch, but we were watching them. Jordan Poole was actually pretty good last year, all said and done for you guys, especially on the offensive end, like playmaking, creating, like shot making, and you could look at some of the efficiencies and be like, AVC, it wasn't that great, but you remember what team he was playing on, right? Teams went into these games being like, okay, so yeah, we'll make sure we trap on Jordan Poole, and fuck, that should be good enough, right? Like, just make sure he doesn't go off on us, and we'll be most likely fine in this game. And that's, I'm guaranteeing you, like, that's kind of how teams treated things. So he had all the attention on him, and he still put up pretty solid numbers overall defensively. Not the greatest, but you ended up trading him for a CJ McCollum, who we'll talk about later, which I don't think is like the worst move ever. You brought in a veteran player, which you need for all of your young players, a guy that can kind of steady the ship for a little bit now. That's part of our rebuilding guide, if you would. So I think it's a fine move overall. It frees you up a little bit more financially sooner. So Nice move. Marcus Smart, a guy that you acquired via kind of the trade deadline last year, along with Chris Middleton, is another guy that came in. Smart was another guy that really helped this team start to perform better at the end of last year. Ultimately, they bought him out this offseason. They just didn't really need him. They kind of had enough vets in kind of his spot, which I think is fair. He probably didn't want to necessarily be here either. He wants to compete, go play for winning teams, so he's going to be on the Lakers now. So you bought out Marcus Smart. Not the biggest deal in the world. Malcolm Brogdon, a guy that just didn't really play too many games last year. Again, good veteran quality player. At the time of recording this, he just signed with the Knicks yesterday, which, wow, good pickup for New York. You guys should be excited. I know my Knicks video will already be out by the time that you guys see it. It might even be yesterday the Knicks video got posted, if I remember correctly. So, yeah, that didn't have Malcolm Brogdon, but it doesn't really matter either way. Wasn't playing for you much anyway. There's not really a need to have him on the team. I'm not tripping about it. Sadiq Bey, a guy that you kind of brought in for free as an attempt to see if he's going to get healthy and play again. At one time, a really nice 3-and-D player in the NBA. Didn't end up really suiting up for you at all, and you ended up flipping him as a part of the Jordan Poole deal. I'm not tripping about that either. Rashawn Holmes was kind of your just backup center the past couple years. It's felt like he was on a very generous contract is what we'll say, and not guaranteed at a certain point. So Rashawn Holmes is gone now. Actually pretty solid, because all he really did was block a couple shots here and there, run, jump, and dunk, and then put up really easy, under the basket type of shots. But overall, again, I don't think you're missing too much by not having Rashawn Holmes on the team. Believe it or not, there wasn't a ton of good players on this team last year, so anybody you lost, not a huge deal. And then Colby Jones. Colby Jones actually, fine defensively. I would say he's serviceable, but there's not a particular thing that Colby Jones does very well, and eventually those types of players do just kind of fall out of the league, and he got a two-way deal from someone, didn't he? He might have. I don't know, but Colby Jones ain't going to be on the team anymore. I'm not tripping about it. Okay. Who are the new faces that you got to know if you're a Wizards fan this year? You got CJ McCollum now. You probably know CJ McCollum. Again, you got him as part of the Jordan Poole trade. Been an elite scorer in the NBA for quite a long time. He's probably going to be your lead guard this year, because why not? Dude can still get you 18 to 20 points on any given night with pretty solid efficiency. Not that great of a playmaker like maybe he used to be, but again, the Pelicans have kind of been all over the place as of late, so maybe that's a contributing factor, although I guess the Wizards won't necessarily be all that much better this season. But again, a nice steady force to kind of have on the team this year. I'd be a little bit surprised if he was on your team by the end of the season. I could very well see him getting bought out after being halfway through the year, but if you want to have him on your team for this full season to kind of help some of the young guys develop, totally fine. But I could also see the Wizards being okay, let's embrace the tank the rest of this season. Let's get CJ off the team. That'll help us lose a couple more games, and we've got other young guards that we're interested in playing anyway, so let's buy him out. He can go play for a winner. Everybody's happy, right? But for the time being, great vet to have on the team. Marvin Bagley's back. You guys have had Marvin Bagley before, if I recall. He'll run up and down the court, man, and he's a lob threat. That's basically what Marvin Bagley is at this point. The three-point shot hasn't really come around yet for the former, number 2 overall pick. I still think he's a very serviceable NBA player, because if he just kind of embraces his role of being a rim-running big, he's more than capable of doing that, because he's extremely athletic and coordinated. So ask him to block some shots, run, jump, and dunk. I think you have a quality backup big there, which this team doesn't have a ton of bigs, so he's going to have to be utilized pretty well. Cam Whitmore. Oh, man, Cam Whitmore. I know Wizards fans are excited to have Cam Whitmore, and you probably should be, because he's an extremely talented player. At one point, looked at as the number 5 overall pick in a draft, and then he fell all the way to 20, and people were like, what the hell happened? And I was like, well, unfortunately, his pre-draft interviews showed some people that maybe he wasn't the brightest bulb in the shed, and I'm unfortunately being kind of serious about that. People were like, I don't think I can do this. But the Rockets had a couple first round picks. They're like, hell, let's at least kind of take the talent and figure out what's going on there. And what we've seen out of Cam Whitmore in the NBA up to this point is an extremely talented player. He can get really hot from 3. He can create for himself. He's extremely athletic in a 6'5", 6'6", really bulky body. He's just unfortunately one of those players a la Jalen Green, and they were on the same team, which, was something where they just don't really understand how to actually play basketball. They're just great athletes kind of running around and making fun plays and kind of trick you into thinking that maybe they're out there doing the right things, and they're just kind of not. So we hope that the Wizards will find a way to rein in all of that talent and develop these guys. I haven't seen too many success stories of players like this, at least none that really come to mind right away, but it doesn't hurt to give it a shot, right? I mean, the Wizards are the type of team to, give it a shot anyway, so you didn't have to really pay that much to go get him. Really, not at all. You kind of got paid to take him, so yeah, he's on your team now. Malachi Branham, a guy that you also got paid to take from the San Antonio Spurs. He's on your team as of right now. He's a guard that used to kind of live for like the mid-range or whatever. He's actually become like a pretty good three-point shooter. Doesn't do a ton else well on the basketball court, unfortunately, so not sure he's going to be a huge part of this team, and because this team actually has one too many people on the roster, wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't make the cut. Next we have Dylan Jones, or I guess last we have is Dylan Jones. A really interesting situation. First round pick from just a year ago, but the Oklahoma City Thunder needed space, and so they sold you their first round pick, which great job Wizards for taking advantage of that. And again, we talk about OKC is the only team that can do something like that and it not be a big deal, because for most teams, if you draft someone in the first round and then pay someone to take them a year later, oh my god, what a travesty that is. But OKC's like, meh, we don't really give a fuck. We'd rather just take this other rookie or whatever. So you guys get to experiment with him. Not a guy that I'm that interested in, honestly. He's one of those guys that blossomed late in college because he had the ball like an obscene amount of the time. So you kind of got this like shorter forward that needs to have the ball to kind of have success. And I don't know, that's just not like a player I necessarily enjoy, but mind you, I'm rooting for everybody. Like, I want these guys to have all the success in the world. So hopefully he'll get a chance here. Well, he will get a chance here. Like, it's going to be best guys will come out on top. And that's the advantage of being in a rebuilding team like Washington right now. So that right there is your offseason. If we think about it in its totality, you had a good draft. The player departures, really not like a huge deal. Like, yes, you will miss Jordan Poole, but like, it's not really worth having a Jordan Poole right now anyway. It's probably better to just have the vet and CJ on the team. I think you brought in like a good role player in Marvin Bagley. We'll see what kind of happens with some of these young guys, but you're doing the right thing. You're bringing in young players that you can experiment with and see what's going on. So overall, productive offseason where you acquired some draft picks, had a good time. I think this team's heading in the right direction, at least as of this moment. But anyway, let's go talk about the rest of the roster. Alrighty, that brings us back to this tab. If you guys have been watching my channel for any amount of time, you're probably pretty used to seeing this tab. We use it in a lot of different videos because it does a good job of kind of showing a team's entire situation in kind of one place. We've got a roster breakdown that talks about like salaries and team options and some stats with them. We've got the team's entire like salary cap position here. We've got draft picks and other assets, and then we've got the depth chart that nobody ever gets upset about, even though nobody knows how the fuck to talk about these things. AVC, Koulibaly's not a power forward, you dumb fuck. I was playing 2K and he's the small forward. I don't want to because he's not tall enough. AVC's got to be at least 6'8" to play power forward. What's wrong with you? Why do you do this? And why do you people in the comments get in there and you're like, oh, AVC, we don't have enough at the shooting guard position. Nobody in the NBA like talks like that. Nobody's like, oh shit, we don't have enough of the shooting guards. Oh, no, that's not how you think about it. You think of positions a little bit more vague like that. And again, I'm going to teach you. You got guards. These two are guards. You have wings. These are wings. These are the same thing. They're forwards. Forwards play in these two spots here. And then you have bigs. So you might be like, hey, we want to play two bigs. Hey, we might want to go like three guards or something like that. That's how you're supposed to talk about things. Don't be like, oh, no, we don't have enough people under the point guard slot or whatever. No, you can just move over other guards. That's kind of how we play things. If you're saying you don't have enough ball handlers, that's the right way to talk about it. But anyway, now that I'm done lecturing you dum-dums in the comments, let's move over to the current roster breakdown here. It's where we always like to start off with things. And first, AVC, what are these numbers right here? These are EPM numbers. They stand for estimated plus minus. What is that? Basically, this really advanced statistic that we have that tells you how good somebody is at offense, defense, and then overall as a basketball player. I then take those numbers and normalize them to the point where we can get a 0 to 100 score comparing them against everyone else in the NBA. So really cool stat. It's always worth me saying, because I'm the guy that owns a basketball statistics consulting company, to say, hey, no stat is perfect. There's no stat in the world that can capture like all the nuance and context that is needed to tell the complete story of something. So that's why you need people with critical thinking skills to say, hey, like, so this is what the number is. This is why the number is kind of looking like that. And from there, you can derive strategy from it. So just know that that's the case, but these are still really good numbers to take a look at to kind of help us further kind of dive into these players, right? But just a bit of context. First one, Chris Middleton here. We already kind of talked about like how he was acquired this last season. He's still a good basketball player, man. He started off the season like really rough with Milwaukee. He was coming back from injuries, and then he really kind of picked things up again. He seemed to really embrace kind of being the vet on this team and kind of growing people, which is always really cool. So take these numbers and probably increase them a little bit more to where he actually was by the end of this last season. Still a very efficient scorer that can be very hard to stop and very quality on defense. Not quite the 3-and-D like demon that he used to be, but still very, very quality basketball player. Great vet to have on the team that his contract's going to fall off the books next year anyway, so you're happy to pay him. Already talked about CJ McCollum. Corey Kispert's actually the third highest paid player on this team, if you can imagine that. Corey Kispert is a shooting specialist that's just kind of starting off on his 4-year extension with the team. We're not too happy with Corey Kispert at this moment in terms of his production, but we'll give a little bit of slack. He's never been a great defensive player. Third percentile is always really rough, and that's just kind of the player that he is. Offensively, he's not shooting the ball that great either. We're talking like 35, 36%. I could pull it up, I suppose, that I know for sure what the hell I'm talking about. Where's Corey Kispert? Right here, 36% right there, which is a solid shooting percentage, but for a guy that doesn't play any defense, that's a shooting specialist, man, I need you closer to the 40s. I really, really do, for you to kind of have some value on the team. If we're going to be paying you like $14 million a year, mind you, it's not like there's a ton of spacing on this team. It's not like there's a ton of help, right? So there's the other context with things. This team's kind of booty cheeks, right? So guys like that tend to suffer a little bit more when they don't have people that help create the opportunities for them, because Corey Kispert's not going to create that for himself. So we hope that having a couple more vets on the team, people get a little bit older, maybe he'll start to perform a little bit better again. Alex Sarr, the second overall pick from this last year. Statistics, right? Statistics tell a story, right? Alex Sarr, supposed to be a defensive-minded athletic center, 6th percentile defensively. I'm going to tell you, from watching the games a good amount, I feel pretty good about Alex Sarr defensively, and there's a reason for that. Motherfucker's always in the right place. He really is. He does not fall out of position very often, and he does some very complicated things for you defensively already. Whether that be switching on to like guards and rotating back down to protect the rim. Like he just always seems to have an idea of where he needs to be in the basketball court defensively. The outcomes weren't necessarily all that great. Sometimes a little too block happy, jumping and fouling people a bit too much. Maybe he's just not the greatest rebounder right now, so he's not really ending possessions, giving up offensive rebounding opportunities. Those are all very teachable things, right? So that's why I'm not too concerned about it, because the advanced level stuff on defense looks pretty damn good in this guy already. It's just what he's actually doing, and some of the smaller things, we're messing up a lot of those right now. And Alex Sarr was never a finished prospect coming in. I know he's a number 2 overall pick, not a very good draft class though, so a little bit of context there. I feel good about Sarr being a starting center in the NBA going forward. Again, you just have to teach him. Are the Washington Wizards the one to teach somebody? We'll see. History tells us no, but we will see. Hopefully this new group can kind of help develop him. He's been getting to play in some of the international ball this offseason too, which is always good for people's development. So we're looking forward to seeing year 2 of Mr. Alex Sarr. By the way, Wizards, please just run some more fucking pick and rolls with the dude. Stop making him space out and try to shoot too many threes right away. Just do simple things. Let him play in the dunker spot. Let him do a pick and roll. He's a really good athlete. And probably don't let him bring the ball up the court too much this year. We saw it a little bit last year. It was a little bit janky. Yes, he's very coordinated and very fast for his size, which is fun. Let's worry about some of the smaller skills first. We already talked about Trey Johnson. Bilal Coulibaly. A lot of Wizards fans kind of favorite little prospect on the team. Coulibaly's another guy. Does so many things well. He's kind of always in the right spot, makes good decisions. The efficiencies have been really bad. They've been really bad as of this last year. But again, it's not a very good team. There was nobody to create for him and help him last year, and I don't necessarily anticipate him being a good creator. In international ball, was playing pretty solid overall, but then unfortunately just recently got hurt, and I think we just found out about it 36 hours ago at the time of recording it, so he's going to miss a little bit of the start of the season too, because he tore something in his hand or something, so that's really unfortunate, but still one of the few defensive spotlights on the team. Dude's a nice defensive player. So Hopefully when he gets back from injury, he'll be able to shine a little bit. We already talked about Branham. Bub Carrington, another first-round pick from this last year. I'm not the biggest, like, Bub Carrington guy, just because when he was coming in from college, I was like, okay, what does this guy really do? He's got a quick first step. He likes to get to that mid-range jumper. Not like the greatest playmaker in the world that I've seen, but like interesting size and handle kind of on him. Didn't really show you anything like too crazy in his first year. Mind you, it is very tough being a rookie point guard in the NBA. It's the toughest position to come in and play right away, just because there's a lot more you do have to manage. It's like being like a rookie quarterback or something like that. I'm talking like that like I really know football or American football, but I really don't all that well. But it's tough, right? And again, rough season, not anybody for him to even play make two if he wanted to. So not the greatest season. We'll see how Bub does in his second year. Nice that he has a couple vets and CJ and Chris to kind of help guide him. Already talked about Cam Whitmore, Will Riley, AJ Johnson. Another first-round pick from last year that they got in a trade as a part of the Kyle Kuzma deal or whatever. AJ Johnson is one of those people that we put in the category of he is 2 years away from being 2 years away. A la, who was that back in the day? I can literally picture him, the Toronto guy, the Brazilian Kevin Durant. Why can't I remember him? Bruno Caboclo. That's the motherfucker. AJ Johnson is a younger point guard. He's really young. Point guard. Great athlete, doesn't necessarily do anything well on the basketball court either, kind of like the Cam Whitmore, Jalen Green type thing where there's a ton of potential there. And I know Wizards fans got a little bit excited because every once in a while they saw him run up and down the court really fast and like dunk the basketball. That's great. There's a long way to go with this kid, a long way. So be patient with him. Hopefully we see some development in the second season. Keyshawn George, another first-round pick from last year. Mind you, again, not a great draft class. Supposed to be kind of a 3-and-D wing in college. He was like actually a kind of a primary ball handler at times too. But when we did the evaluation on him, we were like, he doesn't actually like do anything high level with the ball. He's kind of just dancing in place and hitting tough jumpers. So we didn't necessarily see him do anything like that in the NBA, which makes a lot of sense. The skill set's just not there. Defensively, had a lot of great moments as a rookie, and actually like wasn't the worst like at hitting some outside shots in his rookie year. There was a lot of moments that I criticized him for because I'm like, man, the effort is extra bad on this kid sometimes, and that's really upsetting to see out of like a rookie. I know it's tough playing in Washington, but it was extra bad sometimes, like committing like really bad turnovers and then just like kind of like sulking and being like, oh, it's like, okay, man, let's fix that. So something to watch or whatever, but certainly some talent in there. Talked about Dylan Jones already. Justin Champagnie, non-guaranteed contract, the one non-guaranteed contract, but probably the best numbers all around on the team. Both the Champagnie brothers, really underrated NBA players. 3-and-D wings to the max. Don't make a lot of mistakes out on the basketball court. Very, very valuable players. You definitely want this guy in your rotation because he just is a quality basketball player that doesn't fuck a lot of things up. And then Anthony Gill's back on the team. By my understanding, dude is like an all-time culture dude. People just really love this dude despite not really making like a big basketball impact ever. Motherfuckers just love Anthony Gill. So great job, dude. You got yourself another contract. And then we already talked about Marvin Bagley. You'll notice the numbers on this team are bad. They're not a great basketball team. Bleh, not very good right now. We get it, right? Like this team is probably not going to be all that great this year, but that's okay, man. We've got different goals. That's why we talked about stuff at the beginning. If we take a look at the depth chart, like the big position here is a little bit thin, but this team's probably going to shift around a bunch as they're going to be a part of like trades and taking on other players and stuff. So I'm not necessarily tripping about anything right now. The forward spot, there's a lot of people you want to try and get in the game. Obviously, Middleton and Coulibaly. Coulibaly will be out at the beginning of the year, right? So maybe a Keyshawn George or a Champagnie kind of slides in there. But, like, we want to try and get Corey Kispert on the court because we're paying him. Will Riley's a rookie, right? Dylan Jones is a former first-round pick. Keyshawn George, we definitely got to get out there, right? There's a lot of guys we're kind of trying to get on the basketball court right now at that position. So we'll see if that gets sorted out some way this year. And then the guard position as well. Both Cam Whitmore and Trey, you probably want to try to get out there. We'll see if Cam can find his way out there. And then at the point guard spot, obviously, CJ kind of being there. AVC, I see CJ McCollum as a shooting guard. Shut up. We already talked about this. Did you skip the video, dum-dum? CJ McCollum, I presume, will kind of be the lead guard on this team. Again, not the greatest playmaker in the world, but Chris Middleton's actually pretty good at it as well. So I have some confidence that between the two, you'll actually be okay. there. And then you probably want to try to get Bub and AJ on the court when you can. But that's the thing, right? You got a lot of projects. Some people aren't going to get the time to shine. You're going to have to work for it. So overall, interesting roster. It's not the greatest thing in the world, but I think there's some good pieces in place to kind of help the young guys develop. I am really excited to see like Sar play a full season with like a Chris Middleton and maybe a CJ McCollum as well. So I guess we'll see. But now I want to move forward to the trade portion of this video to kind of see like, hey, what are some potential moves we could make for this next season? Oh, wait, hold up. I completely forgot to do like the salary cap and everything like that. You boys out of practice. I was on a business trip out in Iowa. I was helping out one of my clients out there. And so you boys just a little bit out of practice, right? Just let it be. All right. I've been out there in, I guess I shouldn't say exactly where it is because that gives away some stuff. But yeah, I was out in Iowa for like the past like 2 or 3 days getting ready for like some preseason type things. So a lot of fun out there. Iowa. It's a weird place. By the way, I stopped in a place called Waterloo, Iowa on my way back to Minneapolis. Might be one of my least favorite places I've ever been in my life. So if any of you motherfuckers know Waterloo, Iowa, fuck you. But anyway, there's 4 levels to the NBA cap. That you need to know, and I'm going to kind of explain all of those to you right now. There's the cap line itself. When this number hits 0, right now the Wizards are about 17 million away from that, which is crazy. This team has a very inexpensive roster. Basically, you can only re-sign your own players to anything more than a minimum contract when you cross that. Again, we're not even close to that with this team. Then you have the luxury tax line. This team is $50 million away from that. When you cross that, that's when things start to get a little bit scary because your team becomes more and more expensive to just exist at that point. Every consecutive year that you spend in the luxury tax, it compounds and it gets more and more expensive until you get to the point like the Boston Celtics had to do this year and will continue to do. They had to trade people just because they can't afford to even exist at a certain point. Then you have the aprons. These are 2 newer things added to the NBA. If you want to read all of the implications to the aprons, they are right here. I'm just putting them up on screen for you quickly, but basically they're in place to make the NBA a little bit more competitive. So as you go into like the first apron, the NBA takes away your ability to make certain moves. You can't sign these guys, use these exceptions, do these trades. It just becomes a lot harder. And when you get into the second apron, it gets even more challenging, right? Like they're like, no, you literally can't do this. We're kind of going to hard cap you here. The only way you can go from here is down. This team doesn't have to worry about that stuff at all. They are in a very I guess privileged space, and you know they're not a good team, so you don't expect it to be a high salary, which is I guess a good thing right now. But they don't have to worry about cap space. So their role in the NBA economy is to help other teams make deals, because it's really, really hard to make deals in the NBA at this point because the salary cap is just so complicated to kind of maneuver through. So you need teams like the Wizards to dump all the unnecessary salaries to, and in return, the Wizards will happily take on some draft capital or maybe young players that they can experiment with. So that's kind of their role in the economy. And that's how they've acquired so many draft picks. I couldn't even list them all on here over the next couple years. They've got so many assets going forward, which good for them. Good for them. They should have 1 to 2 first-round picks next year that are a little bit complicated to work through. They've got a bunch of different little second-round picks next year that I'll say you probably want to package some of these up somehow and ship them off to other teams. There will be teams that want second-round picks so they can get cheap players on their team. But right now, you've done a good job of stockpiling assets because you made all of those little deals where you're like, all right, I'm going to take on CJ McCollum. I'm going to take on Cam Whitmore, right? I'm going to take on someone else, right? But in return for that, we want your second-round pick. We want this little pick here. So good job, Washington. You're doing the right thing. You're taking on all of these assets. And so now what? You've got all these assets. You got a really cheap team. What's kind of the next step? What I'm going to do is now I'm going to move on to the trade portion of this video, and we're going to kind of talk about some different moves that this team could make. So apologies. Now we're back on track. We're back on track. And that brings us back here to Fanspo. Fanspo, for those of you that don't know, really, really cool website where you can do all these mock trades, mock drafts, lottery simulations. There's a lot of cool shit on here that you can do. The problem is it's a free website and they don't necessarily take the time to update it a bunch, probably because there's no financial incentive to necessarily do so. We really, really like Fanspo, so this is just our little plug to them if they're watching, whoever they are out there. Hey, please update the trade machine. Can we put the rookies in and stuff? Because a lot of us really like to use your website. Whatever we can do to help, we're happy to do so. But anyway, that's just our little plug. So we're going to use Spot Track to do some of the trades. They have a nice little beta machine that you can use. It's not as good as Fanspo, but they do keep everything updated, so that's the one that we're going to use. All right, We talked about in the last section, our role in the basketball economy is to take on unwanted contracts and players in return for acquiring more draft picks. That's what we do, right? Because other teams can't just do like, okay, we'll call this team and we want to trade these players because it's too complicated, right? That's not just how the salary cap works at this point. It's really, really hard to make deals, so you need that third team to kind of dump things off to. We talked about earlier that this team also has -1 roster spots currently. If I had to make a prediction, I'm going to guess Branham is the guy that gets let go. He costs a little bit more money, and there's just not necessarily a point to keeping him where a lot of these other guys were recently signed. So I know Champagny has the non-guaranteed deal, but that would seem really weird to me if they got rid of him. So we're going to act under the assumption that we've got 15 players on the roster. So if we send someone out or if we take someone in, we have to send out another person as well. But what are we even looking for right now? I think the only one that we might consider like just actually wanting to move ourselves this year is Corey Kispert. $14-ish million this year. If he becomes like a pretty good shooter again this year and we can kind of get those percentages back up, I think it might be worth trading the guy, right? Because is he really like a long-term piece for us? Probably not. We're probably too far away from it. And like we can find other shooters. We got other guys we'd like to get in the game maybe over him this year. So I think we could try to trade this like $13-14 million somewhere else this year. And look, if we need to attach like a little second round pick to it or something, we've got plenty of them. I'd kind of like to explore how we could do that. So I've got all the salaries kind of pulled up here. And look, we can take back a little bit more money as well, which is nice. Because we have a ton of cap space. We got $16-ish million. So we're chilling. So even if we could just find a player around like the $20 million mark that could maybe be a bench player for us, or it could be a good vet that just somebody doesn't want, we could maybe do a swap like that. So who are we looking at? There's Yusuf Nurkic. He's on a 1-year deal. Utah did kind of give up a pick to get him, so it seems like they maybe want him. Kind of a weird one there. There's Colin Sexton. Not sure exactly what's going on there. I figure if they're going to trade Sexton, they're probably going to trade him to a contender that actually kind of wants to pay for him. I don't know. Let's kind of see what else is going on out there. Zach Collins is in the last year of his deal with the Bulls. Rather have a Corey Kispert. Doesn't probably make a ton of sense. It probably has to be like a contending level team with a bad contract or something. We could call up the Lakers, right? There's always the Lakers because we know that they have those couple of bad contracts or whatever, and maybe the Lakers would rather just have a shooter. But the problem is, and I'm just drawing this up just so that we can kind of explain it, because there's always the Gabe Vincent plus Maxi Kleba thing. We know they're trying to get off those contracts there. Bringing on like a shooter like that doesn't necessarily play defense, well, kind of have that in Dalton Connect with maybe a little bit more potential there as well. So that's kind of the one reason why I'm not necessarily feeling that one as much. I'm not seeing a ton else here that really gets me going at all right now. I guess we could go up a little bit higher and see if there's somebody else here. Like, do we help a Kings get off of DeMar DeRozan? There's really, I'd feel so bad for DeRozan if he got traded to Washington. Fred VanVleet, no, we're getting a little bit high in the salary cap here, which again, not necessarily tripping about. There is Terry Rozier. We could maybe help with a Terry Rozier type of deal here because Miami's desperate to get off of this dude, and he does not want to be bought out. We could help with that because we don't necessarily have to pay him, so we could probably actually get back a draft pick. They'd probably rather have a Corey Kispert, wouldn't they? So maybe we explore that. So let's take Miami and Washington. We're one of the few teams that could take on a Terry Rozier. So this is pretty simple. All we have to do is swap these two players, and this should work financially. No, it doesn't. You're exceeding the incoming salary by about $4 million or whatever. Fine. We attach Malachi Branham to it there, and now the deal works, right? Okay, let's wait for it to load. There we go. They get these two guys. Do whatever you with them. I could see Corey Kispert maybe them saying like, hey, that's a long time of like having to pay somebody like this. They did thrive with the Duncan Robinson, though. Duncan Robinson had a little bit more ability to put the ball on the floor than Corey Kispert did, but I could still see the Heat potentially going for this. They save quite a bit of money in it. They do get off Terry Rozier. They get somebody that they can use this year in Kispert, and then Branham, you do just whatever the hell you want with Branham. We could even attach somebody else if you really wanted to, but I think Branham makes a lot of sense. So this is one that you could actually do pretty quickly to help get off Terry Rozier. That helps us kind of balance out our roster a little bit more. So yeah, not the worst thing in the world. And then if we want to buy out Terry Rozier at a certain point, which again, he doesn't seem all that interested in, but maybe when he gets to Washington, he has a change of heart. But that's kind of what we're looking at right now is a potential move maybe in that case. Because otherwise, again, I don't want to waste your time with too many different trade ideas. Because again, when other trades happen, that's when people are going to call us and they're going to be like, hey, we need help to kind of help facilitate this move. So that's probably more so what's going to happen this year rather than us looking to kind of make moves. But Kispert is one I could see them potentially trying to get off of. But with all that being said, that's going to conclude the trade portion of things. Let's move on to the rotations. Alrighty, rotation, question mark. I always put the question mark in for a simple reason with this stuff, because look, I'm not in the training camps, I'm not in the practices, and that stuff matters so much when you're kind of trying to put a rotation together. So this is just me kind of going off watching all these guys play basketball last year and trying to think, okay, where would I initially think to put these guys? Because this is a real exercise we do as coaches at the beginning of the year. We go, okay, I think this is what it's going to look like, but we'll kind of adjust as we go. These minutes right here are supposed to kind of represent averages, obviously. Maybe CJ McCollum's going to play 30 minutes some nights. Other nights he might play 20 because we just want to get the young guys out there. Doesn't really matter. And then we've got some EPM numbers over here. So we basically took their scores from here, and then we weighted them by how many minutes are being played, so we can kind of get this team outlook. Team looks bad. We understand that, right? We've kind of covered the fact Wizards probably not going to be very good this year, but this is kind of how I have things balanced out. We want Chris and CJ on the court a good amount, right? We also don't want them on the court enough to where, you know, their bodies are breaking down and stuff like that. And we are still prioritizing the young guys. We said at the beginning, goals, get young guys on the basketball court. We want the vets on the team to help stabilize things, kind of help those guys grow, teach them, be with them, but that's kind of where I got them right now. Trey Johnson, kind of our star young player, if you would, right now. We want him on the court, getting some shots up. It's not going to be a crazy amount of minutes because there's a lot of guys we want to get in, but want him in there quite a bit. Koulibaly and Sarr, I want them kind of playing the most minutes. Again, I know Koulibaly's hurt right now. He should be fine to kind of stay in shape as he's kind of recovering from his injury, hopefully, and shouldn't take him too long to ramp back up, but he will be out for a little bit. We want them on the court as much as possible because we need to start making decisions on Koulibaly if he's going to be a piece for the future. I want Sarr to continue to grow in his role, and there's not a lot of other people there's really no one on the team that's taking Sarr's role for this time being. So let's get him on the court, help him develop. Bub Carrington, second season, let's see some more of him, man. So whenever CJ's kind of coming out of the game, or maybe we want to try and play both of them together and let CJ go back to more of his combo guard type thing, let's give Bub a little bit more of a chance to run some point guard with some vets out there. Champagny, we talked about, really just underrated player in this team, should help to have just a quality basketball player out on the court with some of these other young guys, so I want him out there a good amount. Then we got Marvin Bagley because we need another big, and I've got some Corey Kispert out there. We're trying to raise the value of Corey Kispert ultimately so we can flip him. And then I gave Keyshawn George the remaining minutes because we saw him show some solid stuff last year. That leaves a Mr. Cam Whitmore, AJ Johnson, and Will Riley without any minutes this year. And before you go, AVC, I want Cam Whitmore on the basketball court. I saw him dunk, AVC. I know, Billy. I know you didn't get to watch any great basketball growing up, like in person, and you never saw just like people dunk a basketball. We got to see a little bit more from that. From what I've seen of Cam Whitmore so far, I can't necessarily justify putting him on the court. If you want to do like an 11-man rotation or something like that, fine. I'd rather try to really focus in on some of these other young guys out there. So I think that's what I want to do. I don't want to give Cam Whitmore just like a few minutes because that's when I feel like you're going to get him in a spot of like, okay, I'm on the court. Now I'm going to do everything in my power to show everybody I can score again. We get it, Cam. You're a black hole already, dude. Let's just play some team ball. But if he proves it in like training camp and he's looking good, cool. Put him on the court. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking for this rotation as of right now. If I go over to the lineups here, this is basically a tab where I kind of freeball things a little bit. I come up with 3 rotations that I just kind of want to see a team use this year for different reasons. First one I got here is called Trey Gets Up Field Goals. Trey Johnson, as we said, our prized rookie coming into this season. A lot of potential with this kid. let's get him the shot attempts, man. We talk about all the time in this channel, when you draft young players, let them do what they do best right away so they can get some confidence under them. Trey Johnson is a shot maker. Let's let him get some shots. We got Bub out there who's looking to play make. Let's give him someone to play make to. Champagny, just quality 3-and-D wing. Doesn't need the basketball or anything, but just support player to him. Koulibaly, same thing, right? Support in that sense. And I got Marvin Bagley out here because Bagley can kind of move wherever on the court a little bit more than maybe Sarr can. And I like the idea of him potentially rim running a little bit more along the baseline as Trey's trying to create with some things. So this is our just let Trey Johnson get shot attempts up lineup. I think that that's kind of a cool one. Right here, we've got vets plus defense. So we got our 2 vets out on the court, and CJ McCollum and Chris Middleton. And then we got a little defensive group around them. So this is when maybe we're trying to stabilize a game a little bit more. We got the vets that should be able to create a little bit of offense for us and help set up some of the other guys because they've just been around the NBA for a while and know how to do it. And then we're just putting our other best defensive players out there with them to kind of help and support as they can't necessarily guard a ton of people at this point. So that's the idea with this one, because you need a stable group with the team. And then we got the ultra youth lineup. We're putting Bub, Trey, Koulibaly, George, and Sarr out on the court together because fuck it, why not? The lineups aren't that great, but I want to see it at some point. Let's just see the young fellas try to go out and outrun somebody. Like, do this against the Clippers or something, against like the oldest team in the NBA, and let's just see if we can't run them off the court or something. I think that that'd be really fun. They'd probably get absolutely bodied in that actual situation, but I think it'd be fun to experiment with. But alrighty, that's rotations, that's lineups. We've covered the roster, talked about the offseason, talked about goals. Let's move forward to the predictions part of the video where I tell you guys where I think they're going to land this year. Alrighty, y'all know how this works. It's pretty simple. Basically, I'm going to click a button down here, and it's going to reveal where I got the Wizards in the Eastern Conference. Do we want to do a drum roll? Drum roll. Yeah, the Wizards are the 14. That's where I got them right now. 14. Surprise, surprise. I don't think anybody expected them to be any higher than that. I got them above Brooklyn. Brooklyn is, that's a roster that they got to deal with. But the Wizards, not much better this year, but that's okay. We talked about the goals this year. The goal was not to win a bunch of basketball games right now. Let's get the young guys on the court, continue to do what looks like a good job right now in rebuilding. Get more draft picks, get other young players, right? Take on some stuff, all of that. Keep some vets on the team. All that's good. All that's more than fine, right? But more likely than not, this team will still not be very good this year. Let's try and get another top draft pick next year as we're trying to rebuild and find those core players to build around. Because, hey, maybe you get your star player next year, and now that star player is coming into a spot where they're growing with Alex Sarr, who's probably more of a role player. Maybe you have another scorer in Trey Johnson, another great, like, kind of role player, maybe starter in Koulibaly, and it's like, okay, now maybe we got something here right now. So that's kind of the hope for the Wizards right now, but I'm curious to hear your guys' thoughts down below. This is your chance to kind of share your thoughts and everything, and yeah, I can't imagine they're too different for the Wizards this upcoming season. But anyway, I appreciate it. Let's move on to the comments of the video. Alrighty, y'all, comment to the video is coming from our Lakers season preview video. Go watch these if you haven't already. I've been having a lot of fun making the thumbnails for these. As you can see here, we have a more slim and jacked Luka sporting the train hard or go home shirt. So, I don't know. I'm just trying to have fun making these. Because, again, I know these videos aren't going to get like a ton of views right now. It's the dead point of the season. So, I at least want to have fun with kind of my core audience here. But Cohen Teeter, who said, waiting till one of these videos gets 5 million views and you got to answer all 10,000 comments. As always, I respond to every single comment on my YouTube channel, and I intend to keep on doing so. Yeah, there's definitely a critical mass of things. I don't know if I'll ever become big enough on YouTube to where I have to worry about something like that, because it's not just like, oh, keep grinding YouTube and eventually you'll get there. And I don't necessarily think so. I don't know if my channel's for everybody or whatever, but hey, if that becomes a problem one day, that is a problem I would be, I guess, kind of excited to deal with. But thank you for that. I just thought it was kind of a fun one. And thanks for all the other great discussions that are going on in the comment section below. As always, if you want to have more great basketball conversations, go join the Discord. Link is here in the description. It's also how you get access to this spreadsheet. So a reminder, just go join the Discord, go to the announcements channel. I'm keeping this spreadsheet updated like every single day. So if something doesn't seem right, it probably means I just haven't gotten to it yet. But regardless, I appreciate you guys as always. Make sure you like, share, do all of those things. Say hi to your Nana for me. And I hope you guys have a great end of the week. Thanks so much. Bye.